This conference will now be recorded.
Okay,
All right.
first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all. Okay. Get the meeting going. Couple quick comments. Make sure that only one of us is speaking at a time. You provide your name. And we want to make sure that Bernadette has an idea of who is speaking. I think she's gotten used to most voices, but in fairness to her not being able to see us, if you would please give your name, et cetera, every time you are speaking. Do place your device on mute when you are not speaking, if you would please, so that we don't get any anybody who is calling in, granted, the administrator, namely Tony, can go ahead and can mute everybody, except he can't mute people that are calling in on the phone. So if you would be kind enough to keep your phones on mute, except when you want to speak, it would be greatly appreciated. Unlike the last meeting, there will in fact be a public Q&A scheduled tentatively for around 7 o'clock. So with that in mind, with those as the basic ground rules, why don't we move on to the consent agenda? And is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you.
Patrick Burney, second.
Okay, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
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 Stands voted unanimously. All right, next order of business and discussion and action with regard to the director's report. Is there a motion to approve the director's report?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second by Joel.
Thank you. Gentlemen, any questions on the director's report?
For me, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
No questions for me,
I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Patrick?
Yeah, no questions from me.
Okay. All those in favor then of approving the director's report as presented herein, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Stands voted unanimously. Okay, next order of business, we'll move on then to item number 5, request for PUC action with regard to the Electric Division's compliance with Executive Order 7S and 7W. Rick, I'm assuming you want to take, if you want to take that, or is that Tony, or which one of you will be taking that?
I can take that.
Okay.
And Tom's on the line as well. He's kind of brought this to our attention, but basically, you see the memos from both Tom and Rick on the deferment program and the late payment charges.
Correct.
And the way our CIS system produces the notices for late payments, in order to do it so that customers aren't getting notices, and what we want to do is phase it back in so that they get the, let me just look at this. Direct late payment charges to be assessed on a later date of the 20 days from the rendition of the bill or the due date of the previous bill. Because what was going to end up happening is they were going to get late payment notices for bills that were generated after the ones that were part of the executive order, where you had the 90-day due date. So they would have bills that were going to come due later on, and the system can't handle taking a payment and applying it to a previous bill. So what this does is allow to phase it in so that we don't have that issue and it doesn't hurt customers.
If I could interrupt for a minute, Tony, this is Tom. It's the late payment charge on the newer bills would come, left alone, would come due sooner than earlier bills, than the bills from the month and the 2 months prior. And that's the issue that would not only confuse customers, but CIS can't handle it because it's going to apply that payment the customer intended for the new bill with the earlier due date. It's going to apply it to the old one, and it's going to penalize the new bill regardless of what the customer intended.
Remember, please keep your phone muted or your mic muted if you're not speaking. There's a lot of background noise.
Thank you, Rick. Okay, is there a motion to approve the 5% late charge waiver?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, what I need, I don't mean to personalize it. What the Electric Division needs, in essence, is PUC authority to do what is said on my May 5 memo, the
Right.
small indented paragraph. We need authorization to do that.
Okay. You do not need to have then the paragraph immediate following that also? That starts
When
states
starts this change of billing process. You could, whoever makes the motion could apply the date window. I believe that would be appropriate. Tom, you in agreement?
Yeah, the most critical part is that 5% language that, that be approved.
Yeah,
Tom, you don't feel Tom, you don't feel constrained though with it being limited to between June 12 and September 18, correct?
I mean, it is entirely possible that the bills that were intended today to go, that we anticipate would go out September 18th, might not go out September 18th. This would be expected to be applied to 3 billing cycles, 3 full months as you move forward.
Right.
And right now it is anticipated September 18th would be when that would be completed. But if they want to just adopt the language and then limit it to 3 billing cycles, that would be accurate.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Is there then a motion for the purpose?
This is Patrick Burney. I followed along. I read and understood the memoranda. I understand why we're doing this. It makes perfect sense to me. But for the life of me, I couldn't follow the discourse between Mr. Hendershot and Mr. Beaumont regarding what exactly we need in a memo. I've got the docs in front of me. Just that point me in the right direction, and I can, if there's specific language you need me to read from one of these documents into the record for purpose of motion, I could do that. I can make a motion to approve the requested relief pursuant to the memoranda and incorporate those memoranda into the record with a second from Joel, assuming in support of that. But I just need a little bit of direction here.
So is it, Rick, correct me if I'm wrong, is it the May 5th, 2020 memo where the language states, it's item 5-1, by the way, where the indented paragraph states 5% of the computed billing or minimum charge will be added to the bill if not paid by the later of 20 days from the rendition of the bill or the date of the previous bill?
Yeah.
That's the language.
That's what
and this
we
is Joel.
need.
If I could, this is Joel. If I could clarify, do you want to make this effective June 12 through September 18? So it would be that language effective June 12 through September 18, 2020.
That's correct.
If
Yes,
I
Tom?
if I could suggest 3 monthly billing cycles beginning June 12th.
All right.
So 3 monthly.
In that case, this is Bob Beaumont. In that case, then it would be the indented paragraph, and it would include 3 billing cycles then beginning on June 12th. That would satisfy your needs, Tom?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I like that, Mr. Chairman. I did want to, I feel comfortable with a motion that clarifies that this will be in compliance with Governor's Executive Order 7S and 7W, which I believe affects bills from March 12th to June 11th, and then it's been extended for the 3 months. So if and I believe, and I do thank Tom for giving me some good tutelage on this. If there's somewhere we could also add to that motion that in compliance with Governor's Executive Order 7S and 7W, that would satisfy my concern, so that it's clear to the public that this is in compliance with the Governor's Executive Orders.
Mr. Chair, this is Patrick Burning. I'm not necessarily, I didn't believe that this extension was to comply with an order. I thought this extension was to sort of a practical extension because of the due dates if these deadlines were not extended. That this has nothing to do with the 7S and 7W, but I could be completely wrong and would love to be wrong if that's the case.
Well, Patrick, that might be my mistake. You may be right on that. So maybe, maybe Tom or Rick could help out here and confirm whether this would be in compliance or bring us into compliance, or whether it's just irrelevant.
It's an unintended.
Hello, this is Rick. It is to extend to comply with the Governor's Executive Orders 7S and 7W as approved by the Town Council.
Yes, agreed.
Well, it is the action that we've taken, the process we've taken from March 12th through June 11th is in compliance with the order.
Right.
What we're taking now is the consequences of that order, I would say.
This is Bob Beaumont. Would I be correct to say that this is basically weaning us off of the
Exactly.
S7W?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
That was my understanding.
Yeah, that is my interpretation also. So I would think then if we just go ahead and pass what the indented paragraph, noting that it would be enforced for 3 billing cycles beginning on June 12th, that should take care of it.
I liked the language
Sure.
Mr. Bernie proposed, where he suggested a motion that in essence referenced the memorandum. That might be the cleanest way to do it, rather than try to craft language as we sit here right now.
Okay with that?
Fine with that also.
Okay, so for the reasons stated on the record tonight and the memo to the Public Utilities Commission from Mr. Hendershot dated May 20th, I make a motion to approve the requested relief contained in the memoranda for the reasons stated therein and on the record.
I'll second that.
Okay. And the only comment I'd make is it's the memo of May 5th, not May 20th.
My apologies.
So it's easy enough to happen, Patrick. All right. Any additional discussion, gentlemen?
My second will accept that refinement, Mr. Chair,
Okay.
referencing the May 5th memo.
Okay. All right. Very good. If there's no further discussion, then I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Stands voted unanimously. That takes care of that. We'll move on then. Item number 6, discussion and approval. We have a series of retirements here. The first one is for Tom Costa. Is there a motion to approve the resolution with respect to Tom?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second by Joel.
Yes. Okay, so motion by Patrick, second by Joel. Any comments anybody wants to make with regard to this? All those in favor then of Mr. Bernie's motion with respect to the resolution, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, that's all three of us, that's voted unanimously. Next order of business is item number 7. This is an approval of a resolution for the retirement of Barbara Letourneau after 33 years of working for the electric division, 34 for the town. Is there a motion to approve, same?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second by Joel.
Okay, any comments anybody would like to make with regard to this? Okay, one comment I would say is, hopefully have somebody to fill in soon to go ahead and be able to act as back. Well, I know she's not retiring for a bit here, but need to have that backup when Kathy and Mary aren't available, because I thought, because number 3 on the list is Barbara. Well, I certainly wish Barbara and John the best. I believe his mother just passed, if I'm not mistaken. So I believe her mother-in-law just passed here within the last few days. In any event, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, that voted unanimously. Next, last resolution we have is for the retirement of Walt Szymanski. Is there a motion to approve, same?
So moved.
A second?
Second by Joel.
Okay. Okay. Comment I'll make, I think we're gonna miss Walt very much. He's only been with us a few years. I think he's done an excellent job for us. And certainly we'll miss having his expertise on hand. Any other comments anybody would like to make? Hearing none, all those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, stands voted unanimously. Okay, next order of business, we'll move on to water and sewer. That would be discussion and action for the continuation of the water sewer division town center economic development program. Okay, and Neil, I will call on you for that, sir.
Good evening. So I'm both on the screen and then I called in as well. GoToMeeting's not liking my microphone the last 2 nights. So what you have in front of you is the Downtown Economic Development Program for the Water and Sewer Divisions. This was previously approved by the Public Utilities Public Utilities Commission 2 years ago. There are no changes to the program other than rolling it forward for a term of 4 years. In the past 2 years, we have had one location that did take advantage of it, the Center Street Brewery at 25 Wallace Avenue. And so they did receive discounted water connection charges as well as sewer connection charges when they upgraded their meter due to their larger demand for their brewing operations. So the water and sewer divisions are looking to move this program forward for another 4 years in the downtown development district.
Are there any questions of Neil with regard to this? Hearing none, then is there a motion to approve the extension of the downtown water sewer center zone?
This is Patrick.
Yep.
Mr. Beaumont, this is Patrick Brannick, a motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second by Joel.
Okay, any comments or questions, gentlemen? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those voted unanimously. Moving on then to item number 10, update on the sewer treatment plant, which Neil had sent out to us earlier today. Neil, you're on.
Thank you. Yes, it was probably one of the earliest just-in-time updates.
It did come pretty early.
It was a busy afternoon otherwise. So logistically, the Sewer Division will be making an application to the Town Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Commission we have some soil that has been excavated, and rather than haul and dispose of it off-site, we are looking just to permanently grade it on the wastewater treatment plant site. So that will be near the inland wetlands as well as the buffer areas. So we will be making a formal application to IWWC in June for their June 3rd meeting, looking for action at their July 2020 meeting. Moving on, the anaerobic basin. So all sheeting that is planned to be removed from along the western, northern, and eastern sides of the anaerobic basin has been completed. The sheeting on the southern side is adjacent to the existing primary settling tanks, so that was always planned to remain in place. And backfill has been placed to within 6 feet of the top of the anaerobic basin. And actually today they were starting to install, or they were continuing to install the handrails around the basin. The IPS, or the integrated pump station, the qualitative hydrostatic test was successfully completed. You might remember that the quantitative hydrostatic test was successfully completed prior to the April Public Utilities Commission meeting. So now we have both halves of the hydrostatic test completed. And just today, the contractor began to install the 36-inch pipe from the primary settling tank's splitter box to the new IPS, the new intermediate pump station. You may recall during the design, we built some flexibility into it. So the wastewater can either go through the primary settling tanks, through the anaerobic basin, or through both in series. So this pipe basically goes directly from the primary settling tank to the IPS, so that we could bypass the anaerobic basin. So we did build that flexibility in. Tertiary phosphorus building, the story continues to be placing rebar and placing concrete. So about 30% of the exterior walls are in place, and about 10% of the interior walls, the concrete has been poured. And then for the UV disinfection post-aeration building, all exterior and interior concrete walls have been formed and poured. And beginning next week, we are going to conduct the hydrostatic test for the exterior walls only. And then you can see construction contract payments. There's been no change orders in the last month, so the contract sum to date remains the same, and the original completion date remains the same as well. With that, I'll answer any questions that the commission may have.
Anybody have anything?
I just two questions, Mr. Chairman.
Go right ahead, Patrick.
The first, Neil, just on a very high level, this quantitative hydrostatic test. What exactly is quantitative hydrostatic test?
So we basically fill the concrete basins with a known volume of water, and then always over a series of days, we then measure the volume of water, or measure the vertical difference in the volume of water to see if there are any cracks, specifically in the base slab where we couldn't see any water leaking out. So the quantitative test focuses really on the base slab, And then the qualitative test is along all the exterior walls because they're not backfilled yet. And then so if you have any seepage or leakage, you can see that come through. So quantitative is just a known, we measure to see if there's a known volume of water that is somewhere disappearing.
Gotcha. Thank you. The second question is just, we're on schedule. Has there been any kind of COVID-related impact on construction or any aspect of this, of the development?
No, so actually, Governor Lamont has classified construction as an essential business. We are working in multiple areas around the site. So C.H. Nickerson is practicing social distancing as much as they can. All the workers have masks or face coverings. But on a logistical basis, as far as where we are right now, construction hasn't been impacted. The only real impact we've seen so far, and we're still evaluating it, is up at the Pistapog Pond Water Treatment Plant with the replacement fuel oil tank. That tank may be delayed just because they just don't have the staffing and the material. But for the wastewater treatment plant, minimal, if any, impact.
Thank you. No further questions.
Okay. Joel, anything on your part, sir?
No questions, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I appreciate the update and look forward to the next walking tour, which will be sometime in June, I believe.
Correct.
Okay. With that in mind, then, we move on to 2 minutes early, but we'll move on to public question and answer. I don't know if Adelaide is on the phone or not, but I believe a question or an email was sent out to both you, both Patrick and to Joel, as well as to myself, with respect to a question Adelaide had, and which I will read. I was wondering if anybody participating in the PUC meeting tonight could read out a question. The answer to that would be yes, we will. Background: I have seen a petition from a Sheehan student circulate the web asking that the Board of Education bring electric school buses to Wallingford. I fully support this endeavor. I also imagine that if the school district or the bus company are taking on this idea, there will be questions relating to electric connection to the bus depot. What kind of charging infrastructure would be best, and how both could be installed or upgraded, etc. Her question then is, can the PUC, WED, please name a liaison who can collaborate with the school district, Board of Ed, or the bus company on these considerations, and how can this person be reached? I tossed this out, Rick, Tony. I've got some comments on it myself, but I will let it go to you gentlemen first.
So this is Tony Bucari. I'll be the point of contact on this this project that the student is working on. I've been contacted by the student about this and provided her with some information already on basically the generator interconnection agreement and studies that would have to be done and so forth for a facility like this to be built and interconnected into the system. And just last week, I participated on a call with the student and some others from in town. I believe Adelheid was on the call as well, and that was with a vendor, I believe, a vendor from that does these. They did a little presentation on the buses, and there was also some folks on the call from Connecticut Deep. So I'll remain the point of contact on that.
Okay, I didn't realize that that there hadn't been anything on it at all. First I had heard of it is when Kathy mentioned that she'd gotten the email from Adelaide and So I'm glad to hear that's where, that there has been contact made, et cetera. Of course, there's no guarantee, of course, that the school board is even going to want to do this. I have a feeling there's going to be a bit of a differential price-wise between all electric or perhaps electric hybrids as opposed to straight gas.
Well, the thing to keep in mind too, Mr. Chairman, is that Wallingford does not own its own school buses.
Oh, that's
the buses would have to be provided by the bus vendor.
Oh, I agree. I realize that, and we never have owned our own buses, and that goes back to 1923 when we first started school busing. No, and that's
You probably helped make that decision, right, sir?
Sir?
You probably helped make that decision, right, sir?
I missed that one. I missed that one. I did however, get involved in the decision to go ahead and go with a horse-drawn sled in the winter when there was too much snow. And that is a fact that is what they used in 23. Anyway, all right. Well, Tony, it sounds like it's well in hand. Has there been much? Has there been much information or questioning or anything from the school system with regard to this, or has it primarily been from the student?
Thus far, it's just been from the student. I haven't been contacted or I haven't been involved in anything with the school system at all. I know that the student is also working with Dr. Menzo, but no information on that right now. There's been some pilots in New York and California for these types of electric bus programs, but I explained, to the student that those were done, working with investor-owned utilities, and there was lots of grant funding to support them, and there were pilot programs where they didn't do the entire fleet. It was a handful of buses. So, there's a lot of moving parts and unanswered questions at this point.
Which makes sense. I mean, I know there are electric buses, there are hybrid buses. Certainly, we see the hybrid buses with the Connecticut company buses that run through Wallingford, daily. But it would be a significant change, that is for sure. Are there any other questions from the public with regard to anything you may have on your mind?
Yes.
Okay. If you would state your name and address and ask away, please.
Steve Gale, Whiskey Win Wallingford.
Yes, Steve.
I'm looking to see if the annual energy efficient report has come out yet.
Steve, are you referring to the report that the electric division sends to the Connecticut Energy Efficiency Board?
Yes.
Yes, it has.
Can I get a copy?
Sure. I guess it's a public document.
And how would I get that?
Do you have Walt Szymanski's email?
No, I don't.
I know you have mine. Why don't you send me an email and give me your mailing address and we'll get one to you.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions from the public? Hearing none, then I'll close the question and answer period, and I will. Is there any more business, any additional business to be brought before this body, be it correspondence, committee reports, or anything of that ilk?
Mr. Chairman, this is Patrick Burney. I just have one question for you to Tom or Neil or Tony. In terms of the implementation of the motion that we had tonight about essentially the extension of the electric bills, the deferral of late fees, the weaning off in Mr. Beaumont's words, how will that be communicated to the ratepayers? Will that be a separate notice in the invoices starting in June, or will it just be a specific notation on a specific invoice starting in June?
This is Tom Sullivan. Yes, right now the invoice, the monthly bills are going out with a bill message on it, and everybody should, at least for one of the months, gotten a notice enclosed. Come June 12th and thereafter, those bills will go out with the due date plainly stated, as it normally is with 20 days, but it'll have this adjusted due date on it. We can continue with the bill message, and we haven't really discussed a separate insert to explain it, but that could be done as well. But at the very least, the bill would go out and have the due date clearly stated, with a bill message down below the payment summary section briefly explaining it.
Okay, thank you. This is Patrick Burney. Thank you, Tom. I have another unrelated follow-up, another unrelated question, Mr. Beaumont.
Go right ahead.
And it's related to our the rate process, Mr. Amway, that we were in the midst of before the brakes were put on. Any idea about a timeline? Any thoughts about a timeline of the next steps on our rates?
Certainly. So the next step, and a draft schedule was provided to the director yesterday. We will re-engage the process at the June 16 Public Utilities Commission meeting. So previously, the Public Utilities Commission in March voted to not accept, but move the rates forward, and then we set the public hearing at the Wallingford Library, and then COVID-19 started, everything was shut down. So the first step is on June 16th is we would like to just present the rates again to the Public Utilities Commission just as a refresher. We will then set the public hearing date, and if memory serves me correctly, I don't have the schedule with me. The public hearing is tentatively, or I am recommending that it occur on Tuesday, July 14th. So that will be a meeting in between the regularly scheduled Public Utility Commission meeting. So it's a standalone meeting. And then the rates, our plan is for the rates to go effective October 1, 2020. So we have essentially picked up the entire process and moved it 3 months, since the Water Division bills 1/3 of our customers each month. We really had to look at moving it one whole quarter or 3 months rather than just sliding it to August 1 or September 1.
This is Patrick. Thank you. Just a follow-up question. That's going to have some type of impact on, is that going to have an impact on cash flow? May not be the right term, but on the funding project, because we are counting on that revenue for purposes of this project, funding this project, at least in part.
Correct. So Bill Fallon was kind enough to run the financials as to what revenue impact this will have on the sewer division by delaying it by 3 months. Our estimate is $107,400, and we feel we can make that up by increasing the usage rate, the CCF rate, by less than 5 cents, maybe 2 or 3 cents for the first year.
Okay.
So we run those numbers already.
Yeah, that sounds good. No, knowing how Bill works and how you work, nothing more than what I would have expected that you would have the answer. So thank you. Is there anything?
Oh, I have one. Oh,
yes,
I think, Patrick, so just so you know, so the water and sewer division for for the delayed payments that are possible through the executive order, created a separate bill stuffer that will be included with the May bills, the June bills, or the July bills, depending on when your cycle is. And so it has a small table in it as to when your bill was normally due, and then when your bill will be due, provided with the 90 days. So if you haven't got it ready, I don't know what your cycle is.
One final question, Mr. Beaumont, again unrelated to what I've already discussed, and not expecting a response now. And I apologize that I didn't ask this question during the director's report. My question is directed at either Mr. Busheri or Mr. Hendershot, and it relates to item number 4-15. And there's a negative during the daily volume and cost of open positions. There are several spots during the March period that are negative numbers. I don't want to consume any more time tonight, but I'll just follow up with someone tomorrow so they can educate me on the reasons why we're in a negative dollar amounts in terms of open positions during the month of March.
Okay. Patrick, do you want that via an email, or do you want that via a call, or?
Yeah, actually, it'll give me an excuse to reach out to Mr. Hendershot, which is something I haven't done in a while.
Okay.
I will try to get an answer for you, or have an answer ready before you call, Patrick.
Okay, thank you, sir.
This is highly technical stuff. It's hard to retain for long periods of time.
I get it.
Along those lines, I'll just mention to the commission that on the very next page on 4-16 is that nearly indecipherable table that's always on the last page of the E&E report. Craig Keeney, the next time we're able to actually have a safe and effective ERMOC meeting, will make a presentation on this table.
Oh, terrific.
He and I had a multi-hour discussion on it some time ago. It's a very dense and complicated topic to discern this. And Craig thinks it's simple and easy, but he acknowledges it took him years to get there. So I'm not sure how simple and easy it truly is then. So that's just sort of a little bit of additional background with respect to the question about the table on 415. I will get a good answer rather than hazard one right now.
Great, thank you.
Rick, since we are in that area, on page into Craig's report, we really have nothing with respect to Bristol Myers anymore. Am I correct?
Correct.
All right. Would you have, I mean, I'm sure what he's been doing is a bit of cutting and pasting here. You might as well knock out his references, any reference to Bristol Myers in there. And there are several in his report. I just mentioned that in passing. I noticed that when I was looking at it earlier today. That's just for future reference so that it'll be clean. All right. Is there anything else to be brought before us this evening? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second, Joel.
Okay. All those in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. We stand adjourned at 1916. Folks,
Thanks, everyone. Be safe and well.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
I'm out. Have a good one.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.